We've talked more than a little bit about the state of the Russian military and the Russian propaganda machine, but just what is landing on the actual Russian public? Well, in some interviews from the channel 1420 by Danny Orain, they've got interviews with the Russians of all ages, and we're going to get their perspective, or at least what they're willing to tell the cameras about the pending or really ongoing Ukrainian counteroffensive. This is from just 2 days ago. So let's get into it.
В общем, тема такая. Сейчас очень много людей паникуют из-за возможного контрнаступления Украины. Вот что думаете на эту тему?
Ничего.
Ну, как думаете, это возможно или нет? То есть сейчас панику создают эти дроны. В Шебекино, по-моему, тоже какие-то события происходили. Дома разрушены.
И...
Ну, есть какая-то...
So this is what I find so funny is that this is on one hand, a classic teenager response, right? This it looks like some sort of random geopolitical event. This is something for adults. You're a kid. You don't have to worry about these things. But more than that, this is also a pretty classic survival mechanism. I don't know anything. And when people are confronted with information, there's a couple of ways they solve it, or uncomfortable questions. And I used to work for an organization called an Inspector General in Homeland Security. So we would oftentimes present law enforcement officers with, I'm trying to think of how to put this nicely, information that they, or a line of questioning that they preferred not to have to address. And so you learned that people respond to these sort of questions in a variety of ways. And this is one of those ways. It's the gray rock method, where they provide no additional information. They provide no additional context. They provide not even an indicator of their feelings one way or another. This is maybe the most unsophisticated way to deal with being confronted with an uncomfortable line of questioning, is to simply provide as close to no response as possible. The irony, of course, being that a lot of them didn't realize that they didn't have to answer any of our questions. They could have just politely declined to answer. They could have just not shown up for the interview. But people are weird.
Момент тревога по этому моменту.
Да нет, вообще ничего.
Ой, я такое не комментирую. Ну, стараюсь избегать всего этого. Это может быть как-то эгоистично, но мне это очень тяжело дается. Поэтому...
Ну, вот какие-то страхи есть?
Okay, again, we're seeing more of these. I don't have anything to say. No comment. No comment's a great response, guys. People forget that. No one can force you to talk. No one, not even the federal government. You get called up in front of Congress, and if you just say, I plead the fifth, what? There's nothing they can do about it.
Есть на эту тему или какие мысли в общем?
В общем, да, особо никаких страхов нету пока что. Будем смотреть по ситуации.
Украина деньги, наступление, надо им денег. Вот они говорят, будем наступать, дайте нам денег, все. Оружие там, все, ну в этом дело.
Okay, so here's another response. You can see this is an older gentleman, and this is a little more sophisticated. So you notice he talked about, the question is about the counteroffensive, but look at what he responds. He sort of uses the word offensive, but then he talks about...
Вот они говорят, будем наступать.
Right, the question was about his feelings. Are Russians scared of Ukraine's counteroffensive? And he proceeds to talk about money, the finances.
Дайте нам денег, все. Оружие там, все, ну в этом дело.
То есть будут с Америки, с Европы?
Конечно.
So this is, again, a classic redirection. This is another move that, again, slightly more sophisticated actors will roll out to respond to your questions, or to try to divert the topic of conversation from an uncomfortable one to something they're much more comfortable addressing. So, for example, he's trying to divert this from an uncomfortable situation, which is his feelings, his personal stance on something, and he's pivoting it towards reciting facts that align with the Russian narrative that he's probably getting from TV. So instead, it's about stating, again, a fact that, yes, the offensive costs money, that it's being provided from the US and Europe. It's much less controversial to state to state verified facts, especially those that he already sees the government on television is saying.
Да.
Мы, наверное, дойдем до границ Польши. Только не сейчас, а год, два, три, ну дойдем. Вот этим получим.
Right. And he's also, of course, again, this isn't an answer to the question, are you scared of Russia's counteroffensive? He's simply changing the topic again and repeating something he's seen on TV.
Больно ты не вникала, но я думаю, да, они могут пойти в контрнаступление.
Какой-то страх на эту тему есть?
Конечно. Я всегда переживаю за наших ребят, во-первых.
Sure. So this is another response, is that you get people who simply agree. They simply want the interview to be over. They're so uncomfortable that they just sort of acquiesce. They agree to everything. And this can often be some of the most annoying interviews, because on one hand, it may confirm what you need to know, but when you get a yes man, usually there's information in an interview that you want to understand. There's new information that you want to tease out. It's rare that you will do an interview where all your information, you know all your information, and you simply want confirmation from a principal actor. That's pretty rare. Usually you have some information that you want confirmed, and then some information that's going to be new. Well, here she is simply acquiescing. She's like, yes, I'm scared. Yes, they can go on the offensive. And again, this is a good spin, and that's what she's trying to do, spin this in a way that's palatable. So it's she's pretty sophisticated, spinning this in a palatable way, but agreeing with the interviewer.
Ну это же дети наши. И все, хотелось бы, чтобы это все закончилось. Я, как любая мама, хотела бы здоровья всем. Ну и все матеря, наверное, хотя бы.
Right, and you agree in things that are so general that they no longer provide meaningful information. Every mother loves their children. Well, no kidding.
Украинской страны, с нашей страны.
I wish everyone good health. Like, okay, sure.
Все любят своих детей, хотя бы, чтобы это все быстрее разрешилось, дети вернулись домой.
А как можно повлиять вообще на то, что...
Right. You know, again, these are such generic responses, and you get those sometimes where people they try to answer your question. They're like, yes, of course you're right. But then they make their response as broad and unapplicable as possible so that they don't run the risk of being triangulated to any real concrete information.
Быстрее закончилось, и можно ли вообще?
Как повлиять? Ну, это только разум наших руководителей.
То есть мы просто только ждать можем.
Да, а мы что еще можем? Только молиться и ждать. Если бы была возможность, я бы пошла тоже за наших ребят. Помогать даже пошла.
Две сильные державы.
See, she was getting pretty nervous there.
Могут дать друг другу сильный отпор. Посмотрим.
Украина и Россия?
Да. Украине помогают многие страны. В России сильный ВПК. Шансы примерно равны, судя по тому, что там происходит на линии боевого соприкосновения.
Вот сейчас такие события происходят, что и некоторые города...
So this is also pretty interesting, where again, you've got him coping using a factual analysis. He's saying, okay, well, here's some facts. You know, again, these are facts that align more or less with the state narrative.
Украине помогают многие страны. В России сильный ВПК. Шансы примерно равны, судя по тому, что там происходит на линии боевого соприкосновения.
Вот сейчас такие события происходят, что и некоторые города России уже там под обстрелом, взрывы
Да,
происходят.
моя родная Белгородская область. И она то беспилотники падают, то всякое такое. Родственники, которые в Украине, тоже самое испытывают. Я говорю, у обеих сторон примерно те же проблемы.
Ну, я не уверен, что они будут наступать.
Yeah, that was an interesting interview. And again, maybe because he's a resident of Belgorod, a border region where there is a lot of where he has a lot of relatives in Ukraine. And I suspect that that's why we got something that felt like a real insight and a real personal experience. He may also be young enough, a 22-year-old college student, that he may not realize that speaking on camera carries a certain level of weight. Now he is 32.
Наступать, потому что у нас армия большая, сильная, и дураком надо быть, чтобы нападать.
Right. So this is some another like acknowledging. Again, you're hearing a lot of people who are just like they're in front of a camera, they're saying what they have to say in order to, again, repeat state talking points. It's fascinating, too, to see that older people understand at a more deep level, I think, that what you say on camera creates a permanent record of you taking that stance. And I suspect that most people decline to be interviewed at all, and only a subset of those interviewed say anything of real substance. Again, this is someone who's repeating state talking points. Remember, there's a key piece of context here, and that is that in Russia, it is illegal to do anything that's seen as denigrating the military. Here we go. Just 3 days ago, actually, a renowned human rights campaigner, Oleg Orlov, was put on trial for, quote, discrediting the Russian military. He's a co-chair of a Nobel Prize-winning human rights group and is put on trial in Moscow for discrediting the Russian military, criticizing the war in Ukraine. If convicted, he faces up to 5 years in prison. Twice he's been fined for protesting the war. But that is not... But being a regular opposition figure is not the only people who are getting charged with this, right? This is a common law that Russia is really rolled out for all sorts of things. And Radio Free Europe talks about it, discrediting the Russian war. This is as of May 30th, right? Of May 30th, 2022. So last year. Right, criticizing the country's war. This is just a person, Tatiana, Kutsetsova. She, simply was critical because she had relatives in the Donetsk region. And she posted a comment on her local VK chat room. They're Russia's Facebook clone. And twice she made 2 comments saying that she didn't like Russian troops going into a neighboring state. The result, of course, is that she was fined $450, a lot of money in Russian, a lot of money for a Russian, for discrediting the armed forces. And this is an extremely common, it's been going on for years, or for over a year. So you should understand the context that publicly saying anything critical of the war. So a lot of people are almost certainly in the comments of this video being like, wow, these people are so deluded. They are so dumb. How could they support the Russian state? Guys, it would be illegal. It would be a crime for them to say that the military shouldn't be there, that the Ukraine is a free country. And here's the thing. Like, you're Anton, you're 32 years old, you're a railwayman, you work your job, you got a family, you got a wife, you got kids, and some dude points a camera in his face. Are you going to take food off of your family's table? Are you going to risk years in prison by saying what you really think about this Ukraine thing? No, you're going to say what you got to say, you're going to get out of there, and you're going to go back to your regular life. Because no matter what he says, he could say that Putin should be tried as a war criminal. It won't bring Putin closer to being tried as a war criminal. Anton the railway man does not have the clout or authority to make any change of any kind to the Russian state.
Несмотря на то, что США и другие страны могут помогать Украине в этой борьбе, я думаю, что у нас очень сильное население, очень сильные солдаты, которые всегда дадут сильнейший отпор. И техника наша, которая расположена на боевых базах и вообще по всей России, не допустит такой ситуации, чтобы вообще Украина попыталась вторгнуться на наши земли.
Ядерная держава не может проиграть.
Но мы же не скинем там, даже если будем проигрывать ядерное оружие.
А у нас не будет вариантов.
То есть либо победа, либо уничтожение всего мира.
То тут все просто. Либо мы, либо они.
Вот мы как-то
Okay, that was a bold statement. But again, definitely not critical of the military. In his way, this seems like kind of a janky dude. I don't know. The wolf shirt. Like, he seems like he's trying to do the same thing Anton did, which is say something positive about the war effort, that Russia cannot lose, we're too powerful. Same thing Anton said, but this dude just seems like way dumber.
Либо мы, либо они.
вот мы как-то можем повлиять на это, чтобы
Лично люди?
все закончилось, да.
Я думаю, нет. Хотелось бы, но как все видят ситуацию, то не знаю. Некоторые даже вообще не знают, что происходит. То есть...
Here we go. Notice he's just pivoting. He gets uncomfortable, and then he says, you know what, some people don't even know what's going on right now at all.
Как бы так. Будут больше дронов, если прилетать, тогда, может, как-то народ более-менее активизируется.
That is a really that is a really interesting take, because you notice his only complaint is that nobody seems to care that this is happening, and this is as close to an explicitly anti-war take as probably you can legally get in Russia, where he sits there and goes, hey, more people should look into this. And this is a classic move, right? Look at how many people, that's like a trope that conspiracy theorists love to go, look into it. Implying that I can't say the truth, but I can tell you that you should look at these aspects of things. We're going to cut out this part from CNN because they'll copyright claim it.
Что в некоторых наших городах появляются там взрывы и выстрелы, и даже в Москве, вот, до Москвы долетают какие-то дроны.
Так
Вот
они
с
же не
чем
налетели,
это
насколько я знаю.
Нет, там на Ленинском в здание врезалось.
Ну, я
И где-то
вообще
еще в
считаю,
Москве.
честно сказать, то, что все это шоу больших людей, чтобы тревожить наши сердца рабочие, чтобы мы немножко трепещали и боялись.
Большие люди — это кто? Это...
Ну, кто у власти, а кто у власти, неизвестно. То ли президенты, то ли люди.
Oh, Anton's opening up, thinking lizard people.
Должны быть, но всяко не люди.
То есть думаете, кто-то даже там президентом и всякими высшими чинами, которые управляют страной,
Ну да, ну вы сами подумайте, 21 век, а мы воюем человек с человеком. Я считаю, что это вообще все неправильно. В нашем веке мы должны бы уже осваивать космос, как минимум.
Нет, ничего не думаю.
Guys, Anton, man, he really had his shit together. He gave a clean, simple interview, and then veered into weird conspiracy theories, which is fine, I guess. But like, Anton, this is though we all have a friend like this. This is why you keep people talking in interviews. Honestly. If you have time, you use the whole time. And as long as they're talking, you keep them talking. Because, man, the number of times that I have seen people, and again, I was investigating trained law enforcement officers, people trained to do these interviews. And they still were guilty of all the dumb things. They were a little more sophisticated, especially the senior guys. They would be politically savvy. They knew how to keep their foot out of their mouth. But a lot of them, if you just talk to them about anything, within a half hour, they're telling you about everything that pisses them off, all of their weirdest beliefs, all of the crazy things. Like, the number of times where I thought I was looking into like a level 3 problem, and just because I sat some guy down and got talking to him, and then after 45 minutes of being like cool, they start to share with me like a level 8 problem. And then I'm like, okay, great, man. It's been great talking to you. Thanks so much for all your help. Got my card? Give me a call if you need anything. Shake his hand, walk out the door, close the door, call my boss and go, holy shit. I just got told a level 8 problem, you know? This guy said that they've been X, Y, and Z's. And it's like, what do I even do with this information? Multiple times that has happened. So that's what probably Anton did, right? 15 minutes, he's like, you know, I trust our leaders, da 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 da. And then by minute like 30, he's just like, I think they're reptiles. Like, okay, bro.
Из-за чего так?
А почему? От меня ничего не зависит от моего решения. Есть командование, пусть думают. Я что могу решить? Призовут, пойду. Я медсестра. Абсолютно. Это следовало ожидать. Они нас не оставят в покое.
То есть,
Нашу страну хотят разодрать на клочки. Я против этого.
То есть,
Я не хочу жить в резервации, как индейцы. Я хочу, чтобы моя внучка училась в школе, жила в своей стране, любит.
I love this. I do love the people who are like believe that the stakes are like delusionally high. Yeah. Also, again, it's like, is this different from the leadership are all reptilians? Here's the thing, though. Like, let's see if I can find it. I'm going to show you what percentage of Americans believe different conspiracy theories. And we'll realize that actually these beliefs, like that the like, there's a vast conspiracy to put like human beings on reservations, like some kind of sci-fi dystopia, is not actually that common. Here we go. Here's from YouGov. Oh my God, I can't even talk. Belief in conspiracy theories in the United States. 50 pop-ups, as you know. All right. Lee Harvey Oswald didn't act alone in assassinating JFK. Almost 50% of Americans believe that. 1 in 3 Americans believe there's a deep state working against President Donald Trump and his supporters. Which here's every good conspiracy theory has a grain of truth. Like, yeah, no shit. It was called the American Democratic Party. Like, duh. This is how an electoral democracy works. But almost the same number of people believe the government is hiding aliens in Area 51. Almost 1 in 4 think that 9/11 was perpetrated by the U.S. government. The same number believe climate change is a hoax. And basically the same number. This is a really bad graph, by the way. This 1% difference, like, this doesn't look right. Like, these are just made up lines, by the way, because these are basically exactly the same. 9/11 was an inside job, climate change is a hoax, and the Illuminati secretly control the world. I'm going to get demonetized, by the way, for this entire video. All of these are probably networked beliefs, right? Like, the chances that there's the Illuminati crowd and they don't overlap with the climate change hoax crowd, that they don't overlap with the 9/11 inside job crowd, no chance. These guys are probably 95% the same. The strange part is that within 2% of people think the government is using chemicals to control the population, in parentheses, chemtrails. Yeah, probably not true. Because if Illuminati secretly want to control the world, then how would the Illuminati not accidentally also inhale the chemtrails? Do you see what I mean? You see how a little logic kind of breaks this thing apart? And 1 in 10 people think the moon landing never happened. And so I want to point these things out because when you see these conspiratorial beliefs by Russians, you know that in America, if you were to do another on-the-street interview, between 1 in 4 and 1 in 5 would espouse comparably conspiratorial beliefs. And so a lot of people, me among them, have this belief of like, you need to make sure everyone has this like correct belief system. Listen, it doesn't matter. Like, if 1 in 4 people, if these beliefs were so toxic, were so personally destructive, then like 1 in 4 people the society would collapse if a quarter of people were like, had these like totally asocial beliefs. But the fact is that I don't really care if my repairman or my nurse or the railway worker, it literally doesn't matter what he think happened on 9/11. It doesn't matter 1 iota. Doesn't impact my trust in that guy at all. Not a lick, right? If you're good at your job, you could think the Illuminati run everything. I don't care what a repairman thinks about happened on 9/11. Like, it just doesn't matter.
Страну хотят разодрать на клочки. Я против этого. Внучка училась в школе, жила в своей стране, любит.
Она как начнется, так и закончится. Вот. Сила несопоставима, так сказать. Все-таки, да.
Так или иначе, всему придет конец. Ну, будем надеяться.
Но вот мы, как обычные люди, мы можем...
This is some lawyer shit right here. It'll come to an end. Yes, you've accurately described every war in history, which had both a beginning and an end, except for the wars ongoing right now.
как-то повлиять на ситуацию или это невозможно?
Надейся и верь. Единственное, что могу сказать. Надеяться и верить, что все пройдет, все закончится. И положительно для обеих.
Lawyers. Their ability to say nothing is truly just chef's kiss, just perfect. Truly out here saying absolutely nothing.
Сторон, естественно.
Но вообще Россия может, по-вашему, победителем выйти из данной ситуации?
Что есть победа? Я не знаю, какие цели, то есть вот эти
He's running up foul of the law right here.
расплывчатые цели, денацификация, господи, как еще это? Там,
Демилитаризация.
демилитаризация. Это очень расплывчатое понятие в зависимости от того, что будет подразумеваться под победой. Если сохранение тех территорий, которые на данный момент под контролем, то вполне. Если полная оккупация Украины, очень вряд ли. Если смена режима...
Oh, man. Again. Bro. Sergey. He's spitting truth. He's accidentally saying out loud the part you're supposed to not say.
Может быть. А может быть и наоборот, обратные события, о которых по закону нельзя, наверное, говорить.
And he's fully aware of the law.
Вот мы как...
This is a classic move of like 22-year-old. But here's the thing. Prigozhin does it. Prigozhin says way worse than old Sergey. The difference is Prigozhin has a 5,000 strong army to back him up. Like you think the local sheriff is going to fight through, thousands of armed Wagner soldiers to arrest Prigozhin for saying a no word, but he'll arrest Sergey.
Россияне можем как-то повлиять на всю эту ситуацию, чтобы это все закончилось?
Если вы за эти события, за все, что происходит, то можно поддерживать фронт. Если вы против этих событий, то можно, чтобы по закону все было, лоббировать как-то свои интересы через депутатов и так далее. Лично я против каких-либо переворотов. По одной простой причине это будет...
Oh, this dude's digging himself into a hole.
Хуже
Talking about coups, yo, dude, you're gonna get algorithmed. You're gonna get unpersoned here in a minute.
И украинцы нормальные люди. У меня у мужа родственники с Украины. Мы жили все прекрасно, замечательно. Не знаю, что произошло. Взяли, переформатировали целую нацию.
Oh, there we go. This is a classic one. And this is actually a pro-Russian talking point, that Ukrainians aren't a distinct nation. She also says someone reformatted their whole nation. This is part of a Russian talking point about like the westernization of Ukraine. They view it as a conspiracy to like remake a traditional society into like a hyper modern, hyper liberal one,
Целую нацию. Они, по сути, такие же русские, как и мы. Вы посмотрите фамилии в Москве. Через одну украинская.
Anyway, guys, I hope you got some insight into this sort of weird Russian way of thinking. This has been really interesting to get an insight into, again, how Russians address Ukraine in the context of, again, the laws of their country. Let me know in the comments if you have anything else. Be sure to check us out, combatvetnews.com. I'll see you in the next one.